the moment. So I'm going to make a wee start. So you can see that I'm going to use a PowerPoint presentation, and at the end I certainly would welcome any questions that anybody may have. So for anybody who doesn't know us, and I hope lots of people and the majority of you will know who we are in Parenting NI, but we are a lead voluntary organisation and we focus predominantly on working with parents. And we were established in 1979 and we're still going strong all these years later. We offer a regional service right throughout the province, and in some cases in the Republic of Ireland as well under the MACE project. Our head office is here based in Belfast. We're just in Stockman's Way here up in Belfast. And what is it that we actually do? Well, we support and we work with parents so that they can improve the outcomes for their children and their young people. We upskill practitioners to support their parents that they're working with, and we certainly try and influence policy and practice on parenting. We have lots of strings to our bows, and if you don't know everything about us, please have a look on our website and you'll see some of the fantastic work that we're doing in Parenting NI. So today we're predominantly thinking about anxiety, and I just thought that I would share some of the findings from the big parenting survey that was carried out by Parenting NI in 2021. So through the results of the survey, and we did have a great response to the survey. We had 732 parents who actually completed the survey, and these are some of the initial findings that sit well with what we're talking about today. So 1 in 5 parents reported a low level of emotional and mental health at this time. 32% of those parents indicated that the COVID pandemic had a lot of negative impact on their emotional mental health and their mental health. 47% of parents expressed concerns relating to their child's mental health. 44% of parents experience fear or anxiety relating to potential illness or infection from COVID, and 53% of parents ranked mental health as being the top challenge to their parenting. And I think when you see statistics like that, it's very evident that the more that we can do to actually support parents, the better it's going to be for them and ultimately for their children in the long term. So let's look a little bit and think about parents' anxiety. So I suppose, anxiety in itself, it's a feeling of unease. It's a feeling such as worry or fear. It can either be mild or it can be severe. And it's normal that we all will feel anxious at times, but it's when it starts to interfere with our day-to-day life that it really becomes an issue. And particularly what we're focusing on today, when it starts to interfere in how we are able to parent, it's really imperative that we can step in there, we can support parents with that. So how might that present in a parent that you may well be working with? So of course, everybody's different, but these would be quite typical of a parent who does have high levels of anxiety. So sometimes it's about that need to control. Something will go wrong if I don't do everything myself. And I'm sure if you're like me, you will actually recognize some of these signs in yourself as we talk through them. Sometimes there's very rigid planning from the parent. I need to be prepared for every eventuality. What if A happens? What if B happens? What if C happens? So sometimes for parents, there can be that reluctance to really work outside what their planning is. So they need to cover every eventuality. This parent can be extremely organized. They need to be organized because they don't want to be overwhelmed or they don't want to have a meltdown. So sometimes they may well feel by being that organized person that they can actually stop that from happening. This parent can be somebody who is super helpful, and this will be the parent who really won't say no. So it may well be, if you're in home visiting capacity, that parent who, no matter what time or day that you suggest that you have your next visit with them, will be, yep, that's fine, no problem there, because they want you to like them and they want you to think well about them, and they want you to know that they want to care. Doesn't mean when you actually go to attend your appointment that the parent will actually be there, but certainly this parent can come across as being somebody who really doesn't want to say no or can't say no. They're always in time. For this parent, being a few minutes late can have a really negative effect on their day, can have an effect on their physical health, in that they may well feel extremely anxious, leading them to feel sick, to have stomach ache, and may cause headaches. They certainly will be the parent who, through their extreme organisation and their planning, will be the one who will be the first one in there to your group. But sometimes they get tired easily, because we can see that maintaining all that routine, it really can be exhausting, not only physically exhausting, but certainly mentally exhausting. And so it may well be that, all this planning really consumes that parent's waking hours, and there may be very little space there to actually think about anything else. Again, the parent may well be irritable if things, don't go the way that they have planned them, if they're feeling overwhelmed, or if they feel that they can't actually cope with, anything else, or, I have enough on now that, my son's home from school, this has happened, something else has happened with my daughter. I just can't cope. I can't take any more. And I'm sure for lots of us, there are feelings that we can recognize in parents that we work with, and sometimes in ourselves as well as practitioners. But certainly this parent can also come across as appearing very calm and composed. They can be the parent who looks like they have it all together. So don't always be fooled by some of the things that they will actually present. And sometimes, they may be calm and composed, but maybe they're the parent who, outside of coming into the room, are the ones who have been in the bathroom and had that quick cry. So just, being anxious around that. So I suppose thinking as well about why it is and what it is that parents are actually anxious about. Of course, as we all know, we're just getting to the tail end of the pandemic, and hopefully we are. And all of a sudden, families have all these other worries, finances being a really major one, as we'll all know, and how they're going to provide for their child. But there certainly are lots of other issues out there in society that are making parents, and that parents are telling us on a daily basis, that are making them feel extremely anxious. So those worries may well be around things like their child's development. Is my child at the right place that they should be for their developmental stage? Are they behaving in a way that's acceptable, or should I be looking for additional help here? Do I need to have my child assessed? Is this how children actually should behave? So lots of that going on for parents, and you can imagine how that anxiety can build up. Then, as we talked about, there are those practical issues that cause anxiety, things like finances, things like housing. So again, they're around a lot for parents as well. An issue that really seems to be at the forefront for lots of parents, and particularly those parents whose children are maybe a bit further on in the education system, are issues around school refusal. Young people who are actually, not wanting to go to school, who have anxiety over the thought of going to school, and then parents' anxiety as well around that. And, what's that going to look like? Am I going to come to the attention of an authority here? Am I going to be fined because my child's not going to school? How do I get my child into school? So lots of those things actually going on. And of course, another major one is parents' own mental health and the mental health of their children and their young people. Other things that parents will tell us worry them is the future. What's the future going to look like? How has the pandemic and the recession, how is this all going to impact on me as a parent and on my child? How is it going to affect their future prospects and their ability to maybe complete and have a successful education system, work their way through that? So anxiety can have a profound effect on the physical health and well-being if it's ongoing, and that can result in things, and we'll certainly hear from parents around things like having panic attacks, and how they'll be breathless, and how they're really worried about their physical health. So what is it, and how can we support parents? I suppose the main thing to try and encourage parents is to stay calm. Certainly a lot easier talked about than actually implementing, but it is a strategy that when we get into the habit of practicing it and trying to stay calm. It is something that starts to become much more natural to us. Sometimes it's around taking things at a parent's pace. So I'm thinking of instances when you may be going in to support a family, and while we would all love to get families to a place where life's much better and parenting is much easier for them, we do need to take it at the parent's pace. Trying to move too fast really will be like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So talking to the parents, seeing what they're comfortable with certainly helps them. Sometimes helping parents to actually manage their feelings and to name their feelings, because sometimes parents may not well be aware that actually what they're feeling is anxiety. They just know that something's not right, and that they have this continuous knot in their stomach, this worry in their thoughts and irrational thinking going on for them. So sometimes as practitioners, part of our role is to actually help the parent to actually name their feelings, accept what the parent's saying. Everyone's experience is different, but remember when you're working with a parent that the parent's experience is very real for them. So spend time and accept how they tell you that it's impacting on their parenting and on their life as a family. Explore with a parent how to handle difficult situations. So, being able to talk to the parent about how they might handle the situation if A, B, or C happens can really give them a strategy, give them something that they can hold on to. Remember, this is a parent that likes to plan. So sometimes if they know how they may well handle a situation, it can bring a sense of relief to them to actually doing that. And of course, thinking about things like panic attacks and how they would manage them if they actually were to arise for them. Sometimes it's about supporting the parent to actually access professional help. Parents may not necessarily know where to go to get professional help, so we would always be encouraging parents to have a chat with their GP, or if they have a health visitor, have a chat with them, explain how they're feeling, and get that support from them to actually access some professional services that are there for them. We certainly need to be encouraging parental self-care. It's not an easy thing for parents to actually do, and we will know that parents very often are so busy sorting out kids, sorting out home, sorting out work life, sorting out what people are going to eat, sorting out finances, that it's very hard for them to set some time aside for themselves and to practice self-care. And sometimes parents won't even be aware of what self-care is. And certainly here in Northern Ireland, there does seem to be a bit of a presumption that self-care is actually something that is quite selfish, when really self-care is something that is absolutely vital to allow us to be the best parent that we can actually be. Sometimes helping parents with those practical things like practicing breathing techniques, again, can give them an option that they can actually work on and that can help them in that remaining calm. So, thinking about things like, encouraging them to go somewhere quiet, somewhere where they can focus on their breathing until they're feeling a bit better if they do have a panic attack, can really work for this parent. And we're going to move on a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about what causes anxiety in children. And of course, the list is absolutely endless. And you will hear from parents that you will be supporting and working with. You will hear that there are lots of reasons why their child may well be anxious. School is certainly a big factor for lots of children and young people at the minute, but it can also be things around loss. I'm thinking about those children, and certainly we are seeing it in our work with families in a home visiting capacity, that sometimes there has been a bereavement, particularly during the pandemic, that hasn't really been addressed, or it hasn't really been talked about. And for children, that can be really vital, that they absolutely understand what has happened and how they can move forward from that. Sometimes it may well be around illness, it may be around starting school, it may be around changing school, maybe around changing year group. Sometimes it's practical things like moving house that can cause anxiety for the child. And sometimes it's about the relationships that are going on within the walls of the home. And again, that can have a knock-on effect on the child and on the anxiety that they're actually feeling. So some of the signs that parents can watch for, which may well be present if a child is feeling anxious, are things like bedwetting, having bad dreams, not wanting to go to bed. Sometimes they're having angry outbursts. Sometimes they'll avoid everyday activities, or they'll avoid being with people that up until now, they actually have welcomed being in their company. Sometimes there can be sleep issues. They can be irritable or tearful, and sometimes there can just be a genuine lack of confidence. So how do we manage children's anxiety, and how can we support parents to actually manage that? Well, again, it's about talking about the issue. It's about addressing what's going on with the child, giving the child an opportunity to actually voice how they're feeling, what they think is actually going on. So listening is a major thing here for parents to actually do. Reassuring, letting children know that it can be quite every day to actually feel anxious, but sometimes we need some help when that's starting to really overwhelm us. Certainly, it's about encouraging the children sometimes to think of things a little bit differently, and to manage situations differently. And distraction with children, particularly with younger children, really, really works. So sometimes, giving them an opportunity to actually talk about the anxiety and, to distract them, maybe it may asking them maybe to count down, or maybe giving them a game to play, something that's going to take the focus away from their anxiety on to something else. And of course, I think it's also important to point out that, hugs really work wonders with children, because they actually release those happy endorphins. So, simple things like that, I think we need to bear in mind, and to encourage parents and to let them know why those sorts of things actually are important. Also, things like spending quality time with children, and letting children know that they're safe, that I'm your parent and I'm here to make sure that you will be okay. So that reassurance really for the child. Okay. So these are some very practical little steps that again are really easy to actually share with parents, and which really are seen, and research will show really do have an effect. So things like teaching children a grounding technique. So that's very much, and I'm sure lots of you are aware of how to use this technique, but it's very much about, again, it's about that distraction. It's about putting the focus on something else. So it's very much about 5 things that you can see. So asking them to name 5 things that they can see, 4 things that they can feel, 3 things that they can hear, 2 things that they can smell, and 1 good thing about themselves. And this works for all of us. It's a technique that I very often use myself. So, but a lovely wee technique to teach children and to encourage children to do, so that they learn to do that by themselves if they need to. Okay. Sometimes other things like visualizing a safe place. So that can work as well. As I say, counting down, from 10 to 1 can work very well. And also remembering things like, healthy lifestyle, having good sleep habits, limited screen time, and, promoting that positive thinking. So before they go to bed, before children go to bed, it's good to leave them, as we know, with a happy thought, to leave them with positive mindset. So parents can do this very easily whenever it's time for their child to actually go to sleep. And that's through things like teaching them affirmations, getting them to repeat them, so that it becomes a natural way of how they actually start to think and affirm their own value. Love, letting them know that they're loved unconditionally. There are times when everybody has bad days, and it's very much about separating what happened today from the child. So letting the child know that they are still valued and still loved. The safety that we talked about, you're safe, I'm here, I'm your parent, I'm here to keep you safe. sometimes if a parent has had an extremely rough day and maybe has talked a little bit too sharply to their child, you know, it's about apologizing. It also teaches children that saying sorry is actually something that we, you know, should be doing whenever we actually haven't behaved in the most appropriate way. So just saying, you know, I'm sorry that I was sharp with you today. I'm sorry I was cross with you today. It wasn't really your fault. I was having a very bad day. Tomorrow I'm going to try and do better. You know, so leaving them with that apology, and also the gratitude. So today was a beautiful day. We had great fun when we did such and such. I can't wait for tomorrow when we're going to have more time to actually be together and to play together. All really lovely things to actually leave a child with, as you can imagine, at the end of a busy day. Also, things that work really well are things like a worry box. So, you know, parents can quite easily make this. It's something that we would very much be encouraging, and something that we may well do in our home visiting sessions with a parent whose children are actually experiencing that. So it very often will be, you know, making something like a worry box. For other people, it may well be that, you know, with older children, I'm thinking about teenagers, and I can just imagine a teenager's face if a parent were to introduce a worry box. However, there are other things that work really well, and that would be things like maybe journaling, scrapbooking, may well be art. So there are other ways. It's about getting that anxiety out so that they're not left with it festering inside them. Okay. So how do parent and NI actually support parents? And I'm sorry, my screen has now frozen. So I'll just talk you through this bit. So I don't know what's happened to me there, Lindsay, but I've certainly froze my screen. So okay, so how do we actually support parents? So the main way that we are supporting parents is through things like our website. We have fantastic resources on there. So for you as a practitioner and for parents, there are lots of things on there that really can help them. Also our free phone line where parents can ring, they can talk to someone at the end of the phone about how things actually are for them, and they can gain some tips and some you know, ideas there that they can use going forward. Here we are. I've unfroze. Thank you, Lindsay, if you unfroze me there. Our family home visit support, and we have contracts in both Belfast and Southern Trust, and a fantastic way of actually supporting those parents who maybe aren't ready to come to things like programs and workshops, you know, who maybe do have anxiety themselves around things like being in groups, or sometimes even about actually being out of their home. So a great service and a great way to introduce all these little practical tips that we're actually talking about. Through our programs and workshops, and anybody who's familiar with Parenting NI will know that we will be offering workshops and programs for parents who have children of any age, from young children right through to teenagers. And if you're not aware of some of our programs, I really would encourage you to have a look at our website and see what is available. We also run things like top tips sessions, which are very short 20-minute presentations for parents, and parents have an opportunity at the end to talk about what's going on for them and to gain some of those practical tips that we are trying to encourage them to use. Our Dads Project, which works predominantly with separated dads, and of course dads, you know, again, and particularly separated dads, their anxiety can actually be at a really high level. So a great opportunity for dads to get together and to actually talk about some of the things that are going on for them. Our Solace Project is quite a new project, and it is a research-based project. Solace is there to actually gather research from single parents, and the hope would be that through gathering that, through exploring parents' experiences of lone parenting, that we're able to make some change there that's going to support the parents. Through that, parents can also access things like programs and one-to-one support. So it's relatively new. You will be hearing more about it in the next few months, but certainly if you have any lone parents who are in need of support, please do think about it. And as I said, our online resources, we also offer things like employee wellbeing sessions, where we will be in different organisations or trusts, and we will be delivering some sessions to their parent workers. And again, a great way of actually ensuring that staff are getting a good work-life balance, but predominantly helping them and supporting them in their parenting. And we offer lots of accredited training for practitioners so that they in turn can support parents. And of course, we also have things like our podcasts. So just a little reminder there of our free phone number for anybody who would like to give us a call on our support line. And just finish with a really quick quote, Lindsay. So when you change how you look at things, the things you look at change. Thank you everybody for listening. And if anybody has any questions, I'm very happy to try and answer.
Oh, thank you so much.
Not at all.
Wonderful to have you and with us. If anybody has any questions, we are very happy to put them to Shirley. You will see that Michelle has joined me.
Hi, Michelle.
And we are coming to the very end of our conference today, and it has been thanks to Michelle that this has been possible, and also to our sponsors. So Shirley, I can see a lovely comment in there from Kate Preston thanking you for the really practical tips, and there was plenty of those throughout the presentations. That's really helpful. Thank you very much. And all of our talks are recorded and will be able to be shared with all of our attendees. So thank you again, Shirley.
Not at all. Thank you everybody, and thank you, Kate, for your lovely comment. Bye.
So everybody, that's the end of the conference. We are going to wrap up now and let you go on your way and enjoy some of that lovely sunshine. Next year we are going to have a slightly different format. We're hoping to be face-to-face. We're going to make it a bit more of a hoo-ha about it. Excuse me, I'm a frog method. I just want to say thank you so much for all of our wonderful speakers today and our wonderful sponsors, Aware and I and Relate and I, because without their support we can't really run these conferences. But as always, it's great to get everybody in the room talking about the issues that are facing parents, that are facing our statutory colleagues, who are facing the community and voluntary organisations, and how we can all come together and collaborate and work together to make life just that little bit easier for parents in Northern Ireland.
Thank you everybody, and we'll see you again very soon.
Bye.